The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you November 23rd, 2020. How you guys doing? Monday night. This recording is right at the start of Monday Night Football. I was actually going to wait till tomorrow to do this, but time is kind of the essence now at this point. It's a holiday week, and my oldest kid is out of school for the week. Wife's off a couple extra days this week. So I figured, if I have time to do this right, I can get it in now, because I may be able to get it in later, and some of these topics may not really matter in a couple of days. I don't know. I just wanted to get it in. Well, also, my 3-year-old is actually on my lap, falling asleep as we speak. He wanted me to do the podcast while I was holding him. Weird. I don't know. It's weird because last couple times I've done the show, not this necessarily this podcast, but my wrestling podcast, Take 3 Wrestling. He's jumped in here in my office while I'm recording and made me hold him. Now, luckily, I've been using a handheld mic to do these shows as of late, so it's not really that difficult in endeavor to do this. So, yeah. So right now I'm recording on my office chair, holding him. He just fell asleep. He's like, "Daddy, podcast." He can't say podcast clearly yet, but I was like, "Wow, that's kind of weird. Actually, you want me to hold you and record and go to sleep?" Well, I don't know. It's weird, but dad does dad duties. If he helps my kid fall asleep, and so be it. And which is one of the things we've been having trouble with actually with him as of late. It's not so much a sleeping schedule, but he tends to wake up pretty much every night, at least once a night, at around midnight, 1 a.m., maybe 2 a.m. So it's weird because like my wife and I, when we the kids are asleep by 9 o'clock latest, and that's normally our me time. We spend between hours of 9 to 12, 9 to 1. We catch up on TV shows, have conversations. Maybe drink some wine. I don't know, whatever we do, adult stuff, and that's our me time away from the kids. The house is quiet. We watch we binge. We do what we want, and every so often, my little one, Logan, would come in, not come in the room, but we'd be downstairs. But he would wake up and looking for me. So I have to go back upstairs and put him to sleep, and the whole routine all over again. And that's been an issue really for the last month, honestly. I don't know why that's the case. We started giving him melatonin recently for kids. I don't think it's really been effective in terms of him sleeping throughout the night. He's never really, honestly, been a sleeper, a guy or a kid that sleeps, more than like 8 hours at a time. In other words, he'll sleep, and maybe he'll sleep through the night, but he's up in the morning no matter what, every morning at 7, maybe 8 a.m., no matter what. Whereas Eli, when he was younger, he would sleep 11, 12, sometimes 13 hours straight without a problem. Never woke up. He was very structured that way. Both kids were kind of raised differently in a sense, too, because when we had Eli in 2013, my wife stayed home for the majority of his newborn and all that. She stayed home for the majority of that. So she was able to implement a lot of that structure from the word go. So that's why he was able to stay everything pretty much worked out, as it was. Whereas with Logan, she went back to work. We both work, obviously, and it's more a mixture of her and I, different schedules, all that, and I have to admit, I was much more involved with Logan in the early stages in terms of like hands-on than with Eli. A lot of reasons why. Number one, I was the only one working at the time, so therefore I was always out of the house and doing other things. And, to be honest with you, that's not really an excuse. But, I was much more hands-on with Logan. And it's probably why I bonded with Logan pretty quickly when he was a baby. Whereas Eli, it took a little longer for us to bond. Like obviously we were close, it was his dad, but the mom was always closest to Eli before me. With Logan, it was actually different. Logan always wanted me first. Even today, he's still a daddy's boy, But the sleeping schedule is kind of something we have to work on. We're trying other different things, trying to put him in bed a little earlier. Sometimes we try to put him a little later, and nothing really sticks. We'll wear him out. He goes out. We'll go to, my mom's house. We'll go, just do things to burn him out. We'll walk around the lake, run laps, with the dog. But, at the same time, he'll still go to sleep tired. But then about 3-4 hours later, he's up asking for daddy to come back up and put him to sleep. I don't know what it is. It's one of those things where I don't know. We'll see. He starts preschool next year too, so we're really hoping the next 8 months he works on his vocabulary and all that stuff with speech and all that. Hopefully he speeds up a little bit, but he's a good kid. He's sitting right here holding him, So, it's one of those things. But it was just shocking. He wanted, he was crying. He didn't want to go to bed, but then he kept saying to me, "Daddy, podcast." I'm like, "Podcast?" He wanted me to go in my office and want me to hold him while I was recording. I know. I guess my voice is comforting. I don't know. My wife says otherwise. I don't know. Whatever. If my it's comfortable is fine. And if I can do it, and hell, which is cool too, is I get this in now while I can, get this podcast in while I can, especially this week being a holiday week, of course. But yeah, so it's one of those things. Just do what you gotta do, make it happen. Anyway, so even though the election is kind of in the rearview mirror, it is, but it isn't. There's still a lot of drama around it, reality show style. Joe Biden will be the inaugurated as the next president of the United States, January 20th, 2021. And yet Donald Trump has not conceded yet. He hasn't conceded. Although we got word today, about an hour ago, that the Trump campaign is already starting finally after a recount in Georgia and, lawsuits across different states. Michigan, Pennsylvania. I think Georgia had one at one point. I think Arizona had one at one point. I think Nevada had one, too, at one point. Doesn't matter. Most of them getting dismissed. Like I think of the 26 of them, I think only two actually had some traction. But the transition process is supposedly starting as early as tomorrow, where Joe Biden will be getting intel and information on COVID and the pandemic and what's going on with that. Which is, obviously, whether or not you voted for or against, either candidate, you want to see a peaceful transition, which clearly we haven't gotten that so far. I'll be honest with you, I was kind of fascinated by the idea of Donald Trump not conceding and letting this play out up to the day at the end of his presidency, which is, as I said, January 20th, 2021. But the funny thing about all this is, while Donald Trump, obviously his behavior and all that, very erratic and all that, while Donald Trump really, has acted very clownish, in my opinion, handling this, to me, he hasn't even been the worst person or the most disappointing person in this whole process. To me, honestly, the person that's really stunned me is former New York City Mayor Rudy Guliani, and he's Trump's lawyer, and just seeing this fall from grace. And I keep mentioning it a lot on social media because it's shocking. Because Rudy Giuliani was somebody I admired, before 9/11, then certainly after 9/11. I remember saying after the way he handled 9/11, just the unity and how he, just the presence of New York City and whatnot. I was telling everybody this is the next star in the GOP. This guy could be the next president of the United States after George Bush. I was talking very highly of Rudy Giuliani, and now granted, I was back then. I was also a Republican too, so a lot of that too was kind of within the realm of my own, party and whatnot. But I was somebody that really admired Rudy Giuliani. I thought the guy was very sharp. I thought he was a unifier and just no nonsense, but said the right things and did the right things. And I thought, wow, this is the future of the party. And hey, this is good. We're in a good place, in a time where the country's on the fire and all that. He was there to be a calm in the storm. And then you fast forward to 20 years later. He's pretty much Donald Trump's lackey. He's a mess. Did you see the picture with the hair dye, and the liquid up to his face? There's a video with him, wiping his nose and with a napkin and then not folding it up properly and wiping his face with the same napkin, but probably the snot, all over his face. I don't know. It's weird. I'm looking at him like, and it's just the way he's been the last couple of years and the rhetoric and the erraticness and all that. Like, this isn't the same Rudy that I was admiring 20 years ago. It's the same guy, but that guy is unrecognizable now. It's so weird. Like, this fall from grace. And to me, what I don't get to, and certainly not just Rudy Giuliani, but a lot of other Republicans, what did he have to gain? I know, obviously, Donald Trump has, even in losing this election, he still gained a lot of popularity. He got 10 million plus more votes in this election than he did in 2016. So clearly, he did, to some extent, expand his base. But what do Republicans have to gain by anchoring themselves to this guy, including people like Rudy Giuliani? Like, Trump will be out of power in 2 months. Like, what exactly are you trying to prove here now? It makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. Yeah, the base is big. Of course, you don't want to piss off his supporters. But I honestly believe that while Donald Trump will be a major influence on the GOP moving forward, he will. We have not seen the last of him. I have been saying, he may or may not run for president in 2024, but he will certainly be around as a major influence. He is, for all intents and purposes, the Republican Party right now in 2020, and obviously most of the base loves him. But I do think there will become a point where most sane Republicans are going to end up not caring anymore. I mean, you would think that some of them will come to consensus at some point and just kind of, put country over personality and country over party, regardless of who's the major influence. But yet, you have these guys, even Ted Cruz of the world, Marco Rubio, and some of these guys, I would even say to some extent, I respect Republicans just anchoring themselves to this guy. None more so than Mayor Giuliani. It makes no sense. It's weird. I don't get it, man. This is a fall from grace I did not see coming. And the thing is, even though he supported in 2016, I get it. I totally get it. But to see him sticking to it like a lackey, doing these press conferences and these weird places, these things he's saying, and the erraticness, and he's just sloppy. I'm legitimately worried about Rudy Giuliani. Like, mentally, is his health okay? Like, I'm really worried about him as a person. Forget everything you may not like about the guy, but as a mentally, I'm really worried as he lost it. Like, oh, Rudy, I don't know, man. It's just stunning to see this. You rewind to 2001. Like, this is a different guy. That guy today is unrecognizable. It's insane to me. It really is. Sad. That's why I don't make fun of him, because like to me, it's embarrassing and disappointing, really, more than anything else. Can't really go hate the guy because he made his decision to do this, and it's on him. I say I'm big on personal accountability. You make your decisions, you lie in that. And he's doing that. Like, he really is. It's crazy. It's crazy. But as we heard today, the transition is finally, it looks like it's going to happen. Now, Donald Trump hasn't necessarily conceded either, but he is open to the transition. I think he's still going to find other channels to fight this. He tweeted too also recently. Let me see. He tweeted here. Let me see here. He did tweet. All right, his last tweet 2 hours ago. Basically saying, I should read this verbatim real quick. Okay, I'll read this. It's 2 tweets here. I want to thank Emily Murphy at GSA for a steadfast dedication and loyalty to our country. She has been harassed, threatened, and abused, and I do not want to see that happen to her, or see this happen to her, her family, or employees of GSA. Our case strongly continues. We will keep up the good fight, and I believe we will prevail. Nevertheless, in the best interest of our country, I am recommending that Emily and her team do what needs to be done with regard to initial protocols, and I have told my team to do the same. This is a reality show. I really hope someone's filming this behind the scenes. I want to see how this is playing out really in real time. I really am. It's just crazy. But, again, Rudy Giuliani, what a fall from grace. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, this weekend, I actually had a little bit of a scare. Obviously, I told you guys a few weeks back, we lost our family cat of 11 years. She had a couple seizures, and we had to put her down pretty much hours after that, going to the vet. We got a new cat about a week later because my oldest son wanted a new cat, so we got a new cat. She's been amazing. Her name is Mochi. She's amazing. We love her to death. She's going to be good for a long time. We got a dog, OC, named after one of my all-time favorite New York Giants players, OC Umiura. He was actually part of the 2 Super Bowl teams in 2007 and 2011. And we've had him since May of 2009. So we got him at 5 months old. He's now maybe actually be 12, I think, next year. I believe he has arthritis at this point now. Friday night, we were hanging out, with the wife. Me and the wife watching TV, whatever. And then we watched Bill Maher, actually, the season finale of Bill Maher. And OC started limping. So I was like, oh, well, he's probably stiff, keep an eye on that. So we brought him upstairs, and he went to sleep, no problem, whatever. Next morning, my wife, I took off Saturday because we have to go to the funeral. I have to tell you, my friend Eric's father passed away a few weeks back. We had the funeral was this past Saturday, so we had to go to the funeral that afternoon. But in the morning, we had took the cat to the vet for a checkup, because we've had it for a couple weeks now. We had a checkup. Most of it was covered. Most of the bill was covered. Once you adopt a cat, you get a certain amount of money covered. Just because when we took her to the vet, wife comes home, and then my dog is downstairs. And normally he gets very happy when someone walks in the house. He was just not moving, and when we watched him walk around downstairs, he could barely move. He looked like he's in a lot of pain, So my wife freaked out. I started freaking out a little bit. And we're like, well, we got to take him to the vet. So we took him to the vet. The vet wanted to charge us upwards of over $1,000 just to get a checkup and meds and all that. I'm like, I don't have that kind of money right now, So we just said, listen, just give us the meds. If anything, we'll see if that works, that helps. It's actually helped, I believe, because he's been moving better since we gave him the meds. So we gave him the meds on Saturday. He's walking a lot better. Actually pulling me a lot when I'm trying to walk him. He wants to run, but I mean, he lives with this pain for a long time, I guess. He had an ACL tear way back in 2000, I think, 10, and the doctor at the time said there's really not worth having surgery. This is going to heal on its own, but he'll probably eventually getting arthritis as he gets older. So this is probably what's happening here too. But he's been good. He's been fine for the most part the last couple of days. We had to keep an eye on it, obviously. Lots of meds and, all that. But it's scary because, it's my dog, But I will say this much, and I told my wife this, especially since he had kids, that once he passes, I don't think I'm going to have another dog again. At least certainly not until my kids get older. Like I said, I want to have less responsibility as I get older. So having a dog on top of my kids and the cat and all that, it's just too much. For me personally, I want less and less responsibility. I'll probably have a dog down the road. If the kids want to have a dog, we'll probably have a dog, but they'll be old enough to help take care of it instead of it's me doing all the work. You know what I'm saying? So, but it was scary, man. It was, it was quite scary, but he's doing okay so far. And we have to keep monitoring that. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. As I said, this week is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is funny in my family because, as my growing up, my family's big. I have two sides. My mom's and my dad's sides, all big families. Caribbean, Trinidad families. We all very close and all that. So when we do holidays, birthdays, Christmas, whatever, maybe it's always a big event. With my wife, not say unfortunate because this is actually something I've learned to appreciate. My wife's family is very small, okay, and it's actually a lot smaller now. With her dad not being here anymore, her grandmother not being here anymore either. So, what we do when we've been doing since we've been together, even before we were married, we will always have Thanksgiving with the immediate family. So in the case of us here, it'd be me, my wife, our two kids, obviously, and then my mother-in-law and my brother and my brother-in-law, her brother. And she'd come in the morning, we'll watch the parade about 9 o'clock, 9:30, and just hang out. And we'll have breakfast and then the early lunch. And then once they finish eating, they end up leaving about, say, 1, 2 o'clock. And then we'll end up going to either my mom's house or my dad's house or my aunt's house, whoever is doing something. I'm not sure that'll be the case this year. I think we'll end up doing just doing the small one here. It's funny because for a lot of years, I really didn't really, not say I didn't care for the small ones, because I love the big ones though. I love what I was raised into. You like what you like. Whatever you're used to, you favor that obviously. So I always liked the bigger holidays, But as I gotten older, and I'm even more private and more, not a hermit, but more to myself and to my environment, I've really learned to appreciate the small ones, the small gatherings. We still do both, but the small ones are kind of cool now. It's on the same level, in fact. It's easy to, control the household, control the TVs, control the food, all that. I've learned to appreciate the small ones. I'm a lot simpler these days than I was 10, 15 years ago. So dealing with this in a smaller manner has been, for me, preferable in a lot of ways. So looking forward to this week's Thanksgiving. I don't know if we're going to do anything when my mom's is here. I had mentioned something to her about if she wanted to do anything, but I don't think she wants to do anything big, which I don't blame her because it's a lot of work, having to host people and to have to clean up after and all that. And she has a lot of health issues too, and it's not for her to have to worry about all that. So, but I really do appreciate the small Thanksgivings now, and small holidays in general. And this is how we do honestly, we do Christmas also too. We actually started at my house too. We do something small with my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, and then they leave about 2 o'clock, and then we make plans to go somewhere else, or we'll stay home, So, and especially now with COVID and the pandemic, we want to be very careful with what we do and decisions we make in terms of where we're going to go and how we're going to celebrate. So we're going to be very careful. But, I'm looking forward to it this week, of course. Very simple. And like I said, our foods are simple. Like, obviously the foods I definitely prefer on my family's end because it's foods I love, Caribbean foods. We'll have like callaloo and sometimes curry chicken, sometimes stew chicken, whereas on my wife's side, it's more simple, traditional American Thanksgiving, ham, turkey, and all that jazz, mac and cheese, all that, which is fine. I like it too, but I was raised in with the Caribbean things and the things I say. So it's what it is, But it should be fun. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving this year. Okay, so this past week, should I say, is the New York Giants bye week. I have not actually taught much football. Well, I did last week with Kyle, but beyond that, I haven't taught much football with Kyle. Or on the show, rather. Not with Kyle. I talked with Kyle last week. But the Giants right now are 3-7. Every team in the NFC East right now, through 11 weeks, have 3 wins. This is a terrible division. The Eagles 3-6-1, Giants 3-7, Cowboys 3-7, Redskins 3-7 with 6 weeks to go. And someone's gonna win this division, and someone's gonna host a home playoff game. It's just fascinating how this. My assumption was that even as slow as the Eagles started, we knew at some point they'll figure it out and put it together, and they haven't done that. Carson Wentz has had a really rough year. Obviously, the Cowboys losing Dak Prescott didn't help, but honestly, they weren't playing that good even with Dak Prescott. Even though he's having an individually a great year, and the Redskins obviously were not even expected to be good this year, so I can't really hold against them. So, like I said, somebody has to win the division. Somebody's going to win the division, and somebody's going to host a playoff game. And as you know, if you listen to this podcast throughout this fall, I didn't even give a shit about the Giants. I was so disinterested in the team, and like another bad year. They've been pretty bad for the last 9 years, honestly. So, but this year's like, we'll punt next year, COVID and all that. Who cares? But look, right now we're 11 weeks in, and maybe the Giants can get in the playoffs, and maybe if they play the cards right, steal a playoff game. I'm not saying it's going to happen. In fact, I'm betting against that. But we're here 6 weeks ago, and they're in a virtual tie for first in the NFC East, or a half game behind Philly. And the Giants, to their credit, have played pretty well the last couple of weeks. Like, they should have at least 5 or 6 wins right now, to be honest with you. Like, they should have beaten Philadelphia the first time. Okay? They should be in Dallas when they played them the day Dak got hurt. You look at the schedule. The Giants had some games, really, to start the year they should have won. The Bucks game they could have won. Well, the Rams game they were in too, of course. But there were a lot of games the Giants could have actually won. The Giants were yards away from beating the Bears in week 2. So you look at the Giants team, I'm not totally impressed with it, but they played pretty well. The defense has got better as the season's gone on. Daniel Jones is cleaning up his mistakes, and, they're playing better as a team. They're not a good team, but, the situation has presented itself to the fact now they're hanging around. They got 3 wins, and everybody else has 3 wins. The Eagles aren't playing well, and their schedule gets really tough, and the Redskins aren't good. The Cowboys are banged the hell up. So if you were to pick a team right now based on the optics to win this division, most would probably say the Giants. Honestly, and I agree. Look at the rest of the schedule. They play Cincinnati next week, who just lost Joe Burrow for the year, tore MCL and ACL. Then they got Seattle the week after. That's a loss. Although Seattle's been playing really, really up and down the last couple of weeks. Then the Cardinals at home. That should be a loss probably too, but you never know. It's a home game. The Browns, who were surprisingly 7-3, quietly 7-3, should I say. I mean, they're not unbeatable, but that might be a loss. Then you got Baltimore, who hasn't been playing that well lately too, but again, that should be a Ravens win. And then they close the year against the Cowboys. So there are a lot of possibilities. I can see, really honestly, if I'm really playing it to the ceiling, about 3 more wins on the schedule, and maybe talking to 4. It's going to be pathetic that there might be a 6-10 team that goes to the playoffs and wins the division. That's kind of pathetic. And before you get on me about, changing the way we do the playoffs, don't let one anomaly of a season change the whole overall perspective. Don't do that. Let's not do that, okay? But yeah, they have a chance to, there's an opportunity here for the Giants. Like, they've been playing better. Like I said, there's no one in this division is running away with it. I don't see the Cowboys running away with it. They're not that good. I know beat Minnesota, but Minnesota's not that good. Philadelphia can't get their shit together, and Washington's just not really that good either. The Giants beat them twice this year. So there is actually an opportunity here. Just saying. NBA free agency. I actually want to do a bigger deep dive in NBA free agency sometime this week or maybe early next week with whoever I decide to get on the show. With whom it could be anybody, Danny Thompson, whoever it could be, and basketball writers or personalities more in depth. But my one big takeaway of NBA free agency is this: it looks like just on optics alone, the Lakers are going to repeat. They added Montrezl Harrell. They lose Rajon Rondo, but they get Dennis Schroeder, who I call German Rondo because they look alike, who's a better scorer. Certainly not the intangibles of Rajon Rondo, but he's a really good player. You know what I'm saying? So the Lakers got better. They retained Markieff Morris, and I'm sorry, I'm not betting against LeBron. Sorry, and not only that, the West has got weaker. Klay Thompson's out for the year again, so the Warriors come back to make things interesting. Goodbye, that's done. The Rockets, they might lose James Harden anytime soon. And even with James Harden, not good enough. But certainly James Harden not being there, assuming he gets traded for the year starts or whenever that trade goes down, that's another team out of the way. So who's challenging Lakers in the West? Honestly, maybe the Clippers, but come on, you got to show me at this point. I'm not putting any faith in the Clippers anymore. The Nuggets, yeah, it's cute. They're a pretty good team, but they're not beating the Lakers in 7. You're not beating LeBron 4 to 7 games. You had a chance to do it this past fall, and they couldn't do it. Dallas Mavericks, no. They're ascending, but they're not there. Phoenix Suns have got better this year, but they're not on the Lakers level. Again, you're trying to figure out how to beat 2 of the 3 best players on this planet in a 7-game series. The West got weaker, and the Lakers got better. It's that simple. So at worst, the Lakers goes in the final next year. At worst, that's the floor next year. That's simple. And Marc Gasol too. Chris Paul goes to Phoenix. That's a good move. Obviously, the veteran leadership with Devin Booker, and you have DeAndre Ayton and all that. On the Heat side, more than anything else, they did what they had to do. Keep the core together. They were never going to keep Jay Crowder because Jay Crowder's value went up through this playoff run. And the Miami Heat's priority right now was to keep flexibility because they want to be in a room with Giannis Antetokounmpo next summer to give him a deal. Hopefully, if the Giannis does leave Milwaukee, the Heat has been one of the favorites to get him. You need flexibility. So they signed Avery Bradley, a move that I love, with a 2-year deal, a second-year team option, flexibility there. Mo Harkless, another move I like, 2-year deal, 1-year team option. So I think that's don't quote me on that one actually on Mo Harkless. I'm not even sure if that's actually 2 years or whatever. But my point is, the Heat maintain flexibility. They retain Goran Dragic. By the way, I love that move obviously for one range reason. Goran Dragic. Maybe not a top 5 Heat player all time, but me personally, as a personal favorite player in the history of this franchise of 31 years, is in my top 5 favorite players of all time in this franchise. Okay? People say, well, you talking about top 5. Well, no, it's not top 5 best player. I'm talking about top 5 personal favorite players. That's simple. He's back, and I didn't see numbers on this deal yet, but from what it's close to what he had before, so it's not. It gives the Heat some room to move next year. And don't forget too, in difference to get a room with Giannis next summer, they also got to re-sign Bam Adebayo at some point, whether it's this year or next. So again, the Heat playing smart. People saying, "Oh, they just kept Jay Crowder," but look. Jay Crowder wanted more security, and unfortunately, he were not in a position to do that. You can't serve 2 masters. If you want to get Giannis, you need as much flexibility as possible on the salary cap. So they did the right thing. So they made some good moves. I thought the Hawks looked pretty good. They offered Bogdanovich a offer, waiting for the Kings to match that or not. Lots of good things going on there. Lots of good moves. The Gordon Hayward going to Charlotte. People are critical about that move. My thing is this, on that, it doesn't make sense basketball-wise, but obviously people don't realize that in the NBA, as an ownership, you have to spend a certain amount of money per year on the salary cap, and there are not enough good players in the league. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that you're paying a guy just to get to the salary floor. That's that simple. But I think we'll try to do another deep dive podcast with whoever I check out on this podcast next week or so, and kind of break down the entire NBA free agency and whatnot, what we learned, all that. Maybe tomorrow I'll do it. I'll see. I guess one of the guys is going to the show tomorrow. We'll see. Let me see else here before I go. Oh yeah. HBO Max on the verge of heading to Roku. This is something I'm really excited about because I do have HBO Max, and I have HBO Max even through Hulu. But unfortunately, the HBO Max through Hulu right now isn't the fully functional one. You don't get everything with it. Like, for example, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, their entire 6-season run plus the reunion show that I'm going to watch sometime soon is not on Hulu. It's only on HBO Max, the actual app. And because there's no app right now on Roku, you can only watch it on your tablet or on your iPhone. Now, HBO Max made a deal with Amazon this past week to have that on their platform, and we're hearing that Roku is on the verge of being the next one in line. The biggest clue was that Roku's stock price did go up on Friday as a result of the rumors. So I'm looking forward to that because I love HBO Max. Like I said, all the material that I'm trying to get a hold of, I can't watch on the HBO on Hulu. I can watch it only on the HBO Max on the app, which is not necessarily a huge deal necessarily because I can watch a lot of my television I watch is on my phone or on my tablets. So I'm not necessarily depressed about it, but I like to have the opportunity to watch it on my big screen when the time comes and be available. And looks like they're saying that most likely an announcement will be made about that probably before Thanksgiving or certainly before the holidays. So pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about HBO Max coming to Roku finally. Roku is the best streaming service you're gonna find. Honestly, it's the most stable. I've had the Fire, Amazon Fire. I've had all that. I've had other things, Chromecast, you name it. Roku is the most stable of the bunch. I've had it for about 4 or 5 years, and they've not disappointed me one bit. So looking forward to that. So. Okay, I think I'll do it for today's podcast. It's about 37 minutes in, longer than I actually anticipated, but it's okay, though. We'll see. Maybe we get another podcast next 40 hours to talk more NBA. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm on Twitter at EJChristen7. Again, this podcast you can find anywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, and I said we're now on Amazon Music. So until the next one, love you guys. Take care. Stay safe. And see ya.